Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning.
A podcast where we share with you great insights about everything family from over 30 years of parenting 7 kids and over a decade of equipping parents through our Crazy Cool Family ministry.
So let us inspire and equip you to build your best family. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We value you and your opinion. And if you like what you are hearing, leave us a review. 5 stars preferably. It takes about 20 seconds, but it's one way that you can help us reach more families. Thanks for loving us and Crazy Cool Family. We love you.
Welcome back, Crazy Cool Family people. We are starting the holidays. And so
it's the most wonderful time of the year.
And today we're going to talk about something that is, I think, really cool in that we're going to talk about traditions.
Yeah, we have parents ask us this all the time. Like, what were your family traditions? What did you do? How did you celebrate the holidays? And so we just want to kind of maybe get practical and share some of the things we did, throw out some ideas of maybe what we wished we'd done.
So one of the things we're going to talk about is we're going to try to talk about traditions during the holidays, but really traditions are done all the time. So when your kids think about your family, they think back and I love this definition of a tradition. It's the transmission of customs or beliefs from generation to generation. So traditions are these things that, if done well, help you to pass on beliefs, and they give your kids like this sense of belonging in a family that, and just like when we belong to America. And so therefore, there's July 4th or whatever it is when we have these traditions.
We go to parades and we sing. Yeah. I think that when I think of tradition, I think of traditions build childhood. Because there's a certain season of time that we are small people, and we can all think back to when we were children, things that we did as a family, as a child, that would put in the category of traditions.
Yeah, and parents want, what parents are asking us about the holidays is, how do I make the holidays meaningful?
Right, and not get caught up in the chaos and the
And how do I help? How do I help my kids to understand and believe and have memories of these things? And a lot of times, because traditions are repeated, you influence memories.
Well, and I think too, mamas, the holidays are so crazy, and we get caught up in the to-do list, the cooking for Thanksgiving and the grocery shopping, or the buying of the presents and the wrapping of the presents, and then all the events that go around that, the Thanksgiving, the pilgrim and the Indian dinner for your little kids, or the all the Christmas parties and performances and all that stuff. We get caught up in the busyness of all of that. And so I just want to encourage you that if you have some traditions in place, you don't have to think of them. It's just what you do. Oh, we do Christmas pajamas. Okay, it's what you do. We sit down at Thanksgiving and we talk about the things that we're thankful for. It's just what we do. So we don't have to create something new. And so traditions actually, once set in motion, they don't require a lot of us in this crazy busy time of year.
So and they may be things that you do yourself. Like, for example, during the week of Thanksgiving, I always took off. And so therefore, I just slowed down. And so one of the things I wanted my kids to remember was when Thanksgiving, Dad was around.
That's good, yeah.
And so some of the traditions may be just things that you're doing, or some of it may be things that you are actually doing. Like, we had for years early in our Christmas, one of our early Christmas traditions was service. We would babysit our neighbors' kids one afternoon. And we did that, every year for how many years? 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Right.
And it was hard, but it was something that God put on our heart, and that's one of the things our kids remember as a early Christmas tradition.
And one of the things I remember even as a tradition that you and I did is our anniversary is in November. And so we would go away for 2 or 3 days, maybe 2 nights, 3 days.
Yeah, always with a baby with us.
With a nursing baby with us. And we would distribute all the talking children to the grandparents or the aunts or wherever that we could send them. And we would go have some time to bless our marriage. And then we would usually I'd usually drag Don to do some Christmas shopping. And he would do it with me until his back started hurting. And then we would, go do something fun again to bless our marriage. And so that was one of our traditions.
Well, and what it did was, so what did traditions speak to your kids? Well, one, it spoke to our marriage that we were important to each other. It also spoke to our kids. Hey, mom and dad get away on their anniversary because they are important. So they are seeing, again, going back to, we're passing down beliefs.
Right.
Well, one of the things that they believe out of that is that mom and dad value each other and their marriage is important.
And so Michael married into a family, and they have got Christmas traditions. They make Christmas cookies.
Yep.
And so I think we did that for a couple of seasons and never did it after that. But they very much do it. They do all the very elaborate, beautiful Christmas cookies. And so even as they're supposed to spend Christmas with this year, and they're like, listen, we have to go to Oklahoma and do the Christmas cookies when they do that. And then we will come back and spend Christmas with y'all. But before Christmas, we're going to make the Christmas cookies. That's how powerful of a tradition it is.
Because tradition is a part of your culture.
Yes.
And so when you create traditions, you embed that into the culture. And so it becomes ways to pass down beliefs and memories. And even, so often traditions create connections. They create relationships. Now, can you overdo traditions? Absolutely. Being flexible with them is good. And, not being so, well, this year we've got to do it. We've always done it, and we've got to do it like that. But, in Molly's family, her husband's family, they make tamales.
Yes.
And so, and she has an Hispanic husband, and that's a tradition in their family to make tamales. And it's an elaborate process. And Molly was invited in, and it's like she's shown how to do it. She doesn't know how to do it. And so that is part of the relationships. Traditions create opportunities for relationships.
Right.
And opportunities to invite people into your culture of your home.
Yeah, and so another one of the traditions that we had when the kids were little is they would shop for each other for Christmas. And so I would take each individual child out for an evening. We would go get a treat or a dinner or whatever that was and talk about investing in the relationship. And so it was a one-on-one, which they didn't get with mom very often. We'd go to the dollar store, the Target section, dollar section, and we would buy a gift for each of their siblings. And we were therefore thinking about others, thinking about the other child, their siblings, if you will, and then we'd come home and we'd wrap them. Yeah. And so that was one of the traditions that I didn't care one bit about the presents, and I didn't care. What I did care about, though, was them investing in their sibling, them thinking about their sibling. Mom, would they like this? Do you think they'd like this? Let's do this. That tradition has carried on to today. Our children still exchange gifts with each other, even though we don't do much of Christmas for them anymore.
It is such a complicated deal because you got 7 kids buying presents for all 7, and they do it with, and we tried to stop it. We've shut it down a little bit now that we have grandkids, but for a while, it was a huge deal about. In fact, it's in the beginning of our book we talk about it because it's that tradition carried on so much meaning that the kids would wind up having themes for their presents. Okay, this year I bought T-shirts of everybody and the animal that I think you are, or whatever. You're this or whatever, and they would put so much thought into it because. So what's the belief that they're transferring on? That I value you.
Right.
And you're important to me. I'm thinking about you. That's done through the Christmas tradition. I was thinking about that and again, whatever we're talking about with traditions, find your own. This isn't like copy the Manning Traditions Day or podcast or whatever, but like one of the things, my kids didn't really like this overall, but I still think it was effective. But I would have them at the end of Christmas night arrange all the toys they had
from each of the grandparents and from each of the siblings
and tell a story about, and we would video all the things. And really the design of the tradition was, I wanted them to put everything they got for Christmas in their room and see it and be grateful for it.
Yes.
And to recognize it and say,
that
wow,
so
look
much.
at so instead of just tearing through and they would get mad at me and they'd, oh, Dad, I don't want to do it, especially when they were teenagers. And I'd be like, so even some traditions, it's like, no, we're doing this. Because you got the surly teenagers, you've got, we had all different kinds of ages, but, sometimes it is good to press into those traditions and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. And they would, at the end of the day, they would be fine with it. And we still have the films of those. And they would make these elaborate little, this is my new store. And by the way, you can buy the headphones here and all the things. And they would go through. And it was so, yeah.
I was going to say that another great category to build traditions is through food. And so pick your one or two favorite things that your kids love, that you love, maybe that your mom made or your grandmother made. Incorporate that in. What a great way to bring culture into your home. Maybe it's a favorite dessert or it's a favorite meat or a pasta or we've got some friends that they don't do the traditional Thanksgiving dinner. They do Italian, pasta to, all the different varieties of pasta. And so food is a great way to build culture or to show culture through tradition in your family.
And just like
with
with the cookies and the tamales example, it doesn't have to be so elaborate as that. That's a big process for both of them. But maybe it's, in a day of, like when we're over at Thanksgiving, we make a pie. Or something, and let's make. Okay,
we had pie day for sure, where we were somebody made a different variety of pies, and that was one of the things we did when we get together so one of the traditions we do now that the kids are married is we either spend Thanksgiving or Christmas with them, and then they go to their in-laws, the opposite. And so when we have them for Thanksgiving and they come in, then the day or two before Thanksgiving, we bake.
But even think about that. So we could have just said, hey, free form. We got 7 kids. How to do Thanksgiving and Christmas together as they're getting older. Established a tradition. The tradition is we're going to give up one of those holidays. And so that became something now. They look forward to it. They plan around it. Everything works. So traditions are so many different things. So often some people go on vacations during the holiday season. And so, and then how do you make it? Vacations is a whole nother thing about establishing traditions. Like, for example, when we didn't have to travel because our parents were both our parents' families are local, but a lot of people do travel on holidays. So then it's like, what are your traditions around your travel? We did, for example, in just not during the holidays, but like on vacations, we could eat dessert first on vacations. If we were out away from home, then, sometimes we would eat dessert first. My kids still remember that today. Right. Macy to this day, our third daughter, calls me vacation dad.
Right.
Because things would be different and again, what are you going to do that's going to make the vacation memorable, to make traditions? Because, we would just let go, and there are things that we wouldn't have to do that we did at home.
Well, there's some of our friends that when they would travel for the holidays, like Don said, we didn't have to do that, and they would travel. And so they would leave like at 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And that was and they'd have all the boys' pillows and blankets and all that stuff. And they'd drive through the night. And that was their tradition. And the boys loved it. They thought it was so cool to have a slumber party in the cars. They drove the 8 hours to St. Louis. And so,
like we did at my mom's house, we would have all the cousins over for one night.
And have a slumber party
at
Mimi's
for
house.
many years. Yeah. So, and those those cousins talk about that to this day.
Right.
What we did. And I think that's another thing that traditions do is they create memories that then we talk about later. Mm-hmm. They create, I really want to emphasize that traditions influence our culture. They create most of the time positive memories. Sometimes with culture or with traditions we can overdo them or whatever, but they create positive memories because they create an inclusion factor that are a part of our family and a part of our culture.
Yeah. So we could just keep rattling on forever, but it's probably
so then as we leave, the takeaway, your practice plan, if you will, is what traditions do you already have? And what do you want to, so often the holidays are so busy. Well, I think this is coming out right before Thanksgiving, maybe. There's sometime right around for the next 5 weeks as you go into, and it's really, kids don't go to school till after the new year. Some of the traditions might be for New Year's, or something like that. What are you going to...
Yeah, have a pajama day and watch movies all day. I mean, that's an easy one.
No, you watch football. Good grief. You're going to watch movies?
Small children would enjoy movies much more. I mean, and if it snows, one of the things we always did during the snow is we'd get all of our warm clothes on. We'd get all wet and cold, and then we'd come in and I'd have soup and hot chocolate. And so... what we're really trying to say is to capitalize or utilize the opportunity that's being presented to you by the time that's given as a gift when they're off of school, you're off of work, and just invest in those relationships. Just have fun. When we say invest, that means have fun, connect, make a memory, whatever that looks like. Just go do something out of the ordinary. Call it a tradition.
And it can be anything. Doesn't have to be expensive. Doesn't have to be anything. It just has to be something that all a tradition is something that's repeated. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah. And if you don't have any ideas, then ask your kids because they're so clever. I mean, they're so adventurous. They will totally give you a list. And 90% of it you probably wouldn't ever want to do, but there might be some really great ideas in there if you ask your kids, okay, we need to make some new family traditions. What do you think it should be?
Yeah, so as we close our podcast, we did a short one today. We haven't done a short one in a long time, but so just let us pray for you, and that Lord, we just pray that you would give each family listening, give each parent, they would be forever changed by this year of traditions, that you would give them heavenly insight into their family and what traditions they need to start and what traditions they need to continue, and help them to be purposeful in creating transitions in their lives. Anything else, Suzanne?
That's beautiful. Yes, thank you for asking me that, because there is one thing that I do want to say to encourage you during the time that you do have. Seek opportunities to have intentional conversation, because that's where people feel seen and known. And so if you're traveling and you see that aunt or that grandma, then have a conversation with them. Ask them about themselves, or even your child. Sometimes we get so caught up in the hustle bustle of the day to just take time and pursue your child through conversation. I would say that is one of the things that our family does best, is that we pursue each other in conversation. And when we all get together, you can see two of them off together in the corner, just visiting and talking and impacting each other's lives. And
especially during holiday seasons, because there tends to be more time. There can be. Yeah. So what if, as a tradition, as we close this for the second time, so as we close it, what if your kids remembered that during the Thanksgiving through New Year's season, I had my parents' ear.
Yeah, my mom and dad listened to me.
Yeah, that this
attention.
was a time that you reversed the busyness of, and it doesn't take a lot. You could still be busy. You still got to go by, like Suzanne did it, by taking the kids out to buy presents.
Right.
Or by, whatever the traditions are. But what if you purpose to say, man, this holiday season, my kids are going to know that I have listened to them, and that I am pursuing that relationship. That's a great tradition to end on. So, So
okay, I won't say any more ideas.
We otherwise we'd have to do a third close. And so we would. So tradition. What tradition means is it means the transmission of customs or beliefs from generation to generation. You are one generation. Your kids are another. Figure out this holiday how to transfer your beliefs through the power of tradition in your home. Go be crazy this holiday season, parents. crazycoolfamily.com.